Whereas for us, like when we were making the YouTube channel, all the people that we were speaking to were like, I just played my first ever board game. Thanks for recommending, right? And it was like, we felt like that was one of the strengths of Dicebreaker was the fact that like most tabletop media that exists is so expert level, and they anticipate that you already know what a Eurogamer is, a Eurogame, sorry, or like a, you know what the difference between a living card game and a trading card game and a collectible card game is, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, no, like most of the people that we speak to have no idea about that.
Welcome to Tabletop Talk, the podcast where I delve into the minds of tabletop gaming creatives. Join me as I uncover their creative process and inspirations. You are in the right place if you enjoyed listening to thoughtful interviews with creative people.
This is Sean.
And this is Maddie.
And together we're a couple of Drakes, the creators of Court of Blades and Jedville.
When we're not writing games, we're listening to Tabletop Talk. Talk.
You want to try that again?
When we're not writing games, we're listening to Tabletop Talk.
Howdy friends, Craig here. My guests today are Maddie and Wheels. They are the founders of Just for Fun Inc. You likely know them from their work on Dicebreaker, but now they've teamed up and started their own gaming media empire. Now Maddie, she has spent most of her life writing and turned that passion for sharing words into making videos when she worked as a producer at a creative agency. Once her colleagues got tired of the constant badgering to play board games or hear about her latest D&D session, she started to use her powers for good and broadcasted her love of tabletop gaming. Maddie, welcome to the third floor.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, Maddie, I'm going to ask you the standard question that everybody's always asked you on every stupid podcast you've ever been a part of, which is kind of how did you find the hobbies? But let's phrase it a little bit differently. At one point, you knew nothing about tabletop gaming, the type of tabletop gaming we're talking about. I'm not talking about Monopoly and Cluedo, right? Do you remember when it was first put in front of you?
Yeah, so I am really weird in the sense that like my family hated board games. So my entire childhood I was desperate to play. Like they don't like want to play board games. I play Monopoly when I went camping and it was raining and that was it, like the most. And I didn't really know what I was doing because my brother would cheat all the time and just like take money and hide it. So it took me a while to get into tabletop gaming.
I bet.
Did not have the background.
So, how did we break through with just this awful picture painted as a child for you?
I think my first like introduction was going to university, and then like when you're a fresher and you've just started, like you're like, okay, I'm going to join like societies and stuff, and like which were like the fun little clubs you can do. And there was like a D&D one, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. Like I like the vibe of this. Joined that. Played some games of Numenera, which was a very weird one to start with. I didn't know what I was doing, and we just stood in a circle, and they were like, "These are the games you can join." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds fun." I unfortunately joined a game with people that had been playing together for like years, so they all knew each other. All their characters knew each other. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was like, I don't know about this. So it was a weird introduction. Stopped playing that after a while, and then eventually was watching Lord of the Rings, and I was like, God, this is great, I just want more of this. So my partner at the time then somehow just like stumbled into D&D as like, how do we do more fantasy? That snowballed, became obsessed with everything, got into like miniatures games through that, and it just like, that was it. From then I was like, I want to play everything I possibly can.
So we're a couple of years since then. Do you have a sense, Maddie, now looking back at it? Because boy, all I kept hearing was hurdles and hurdles, right? Your parents hate board games. Your brother's an asshole and he cheats at Monopoly. You get thrown into a Numenera game with a bunch of people who've been playing together forever, and you've never done it before. Do you have a sense of why you were able to leap across all of it and still be able to find the joy in D&D when you found that?
I guess it's like, despite hurdles, like that was always my interest. Like the reason I keep coming up against stuff because I kept being like, I want to try this. This looked really fun. It didn't work out, so I was like, I'm going to try a different angle. I'll try a different way. I just like, as soon as you play an RPG, like a TTRPG, it's like, this is magic that like I can't experience in any other format. Like I'm obsessed with this. I want to do this nonstop. And then you're like, give me more of this. Like keep it coming.
So it then sounds like, because sometimes it's reversed, right? Where I hear that board games and miniature games led to role-playing games, but with you, it's just the opposite. Your love of role-playing games, you said, led to you finding miniature games and finding, board games and things like that. What was the transfer there, right? So what was the jump from RPGs to mini games?
Getting like a D&D mini, just being like, oh, what if we had little minis to play on the map? Like, that would be cool, because as soon as you get into it, you're like, I want to buy all the accessories. Got a mini, started painting it. Literally the next day, I was like, this is so fun. Went to Games Workshop and bought like a Warhammer starter box. Like, I was like, this is great. I'm in. Like, let's go.
I hate money. Let's go.
Basically.
That's great. That's great. So Michael Wheels Whelan started life in the video game industry working as a community manager and content producer on titles such as the Total War franchise and Sorcery 4. He was able to integrate his lifelong enthusiasm for tabletop into his job by starting a new series of tabletop live streams on Total War's marketing channels before starting his work with Dicebreakers. Since he's teamed up with Maddie and they've started their own company, Wheels, welcome to the third floor.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, Wheels, you know a question's coming because you just heard me ask Maddie.
This is great. I'm set up to have a much better answer now.
I don't know. This is pretty good. I want to hear about how, like, you had an asshole sister or something. Let's go back there, though, Wheels. So the first time this was put in front of you, can you take me there?
Yeah, so I think literally the mirror opposite of Maddie's upbringing, where I'm the youngest of 4 brothers, which meant that we play board games all the time, especially over like Christmas and things like that. I think the big thing for us was Risk. We didn't play it correctly. I'm pretty sure we missed out. And I feel like a lot of people do this. There's a rule where you can get extra troops by discarding cards or something like that. Everyone forgets about it, and it means that the game takes like 18 hours to play, which we were great for, because we would just play it over the course of like multiple days. I remember like coming down to the kitchen and seeing my oldest brother Chris like poring over the map, like thinking about what his strategy is going to be for the morning after or something like that. So yeah, I was already in that sort of world. Like, I used to play like a lot of like things like Trivial Pursuit and stuff at Christmas, but never had to play something like a bit more intensive than that. When I got to, again, at university, so same for me, I ended up stumbling into, I think I was just like reading a list of like, here are some good board games, because was interested to try it after my brother had got me a copy of Carcassonne as a Christmas present. So I was like, wow, this is cool. And this is like very, very different from what I'm used to. What other board games exist? I think I was on like an Ars Technica article or something like that. Found a game called Quantum, which I've still got a copy of. It might be behind us. Yeah, I can see it behind us. It's like a sort of 4X that uses dice and things like that. And that was very much like, okay, this is a real board game, you know? So from here, I was like, wow, I'm really starting to actually like, get into a world that I didn't realize existed. I think at that point I found out about sort of things like Shut Up and Sit Down, like joined the local sort of board game shops, like Game Night in Stoke of all places. And yeah, from there got into board games as a whole. Started doing RPG stuff with my friends, and the rest is history.
So now we learned Maddie's first, her first first game was Numenera, but it sounds like it was D&D was really kind of her first RPG that lit the fire. What was yours?
So D&D was the first game I played, because ironically, I think I played my first ever D&D session when I was like 16, 17 years old.
Sure. With
my friend who also didn't know how to play, like trying to run a game and like messing it up. And I was like, this is fun, but I always just hated how big the rulebook was. Like, I'm such a rules light advocate. Like, I want things to be as simple as possible for people to jump into, and D&D is such an ironic first game for everyone, because it's like one of the most complicated like mainstream games you can play.
Yep.
It's something that just really like made me bounce off of it in the first place. We ended up just trying to like make our own stuff up, which I think is a lot of where my sort of like game design history comes from as well, where I was like, I from a very young age was like dissatisfied with the things that I had in front of me. I was like, I want to make something better, so I think RPGs I was weirdly tangentially aware of already, but hadn't really properly played until I got a bit older. And then from there I started getting into it a little bit more. I think one of the big RPGs that I love the most, which I talk about ad nauseum whenever I get a chance, is 10 Candles, because it's just one of my favorite RPGs in general. It's such a like eye-opening experience, I think, when you first try it, especially if you have only played D&D style games up until now. It's such a like theatrical, like, you know, campfire vibes. I've never had a game that sort of like pulls itself into the real world more than 10 Candles. So that was the first moment where I was like, oh, okay, RPGs are cool as hell. I need to get into this properly, you know, and stop just sort of like dipping my toe every now and again and not bothering properly, you know.
All right. So the next time I'm over in the UK, I bring my daughter with me and I say, hey, we've got to go to the Wheels and Maddie Museum. And she's like, great, Dad, let's go. And of course, one of the big exhibits is going to be the new company that you guys have gone to. Before that, we see Dicebreaker. But I would also like to understand the exhibits that led up to it. So can each of you, and we'll start with you, Maddie, if I were to say, what are like the 5 big games? And it could be board games, TTRPGs, it doesn't matter. But when you think, what were the big 5 games that now defined who I am now as a gamer? What do you think we would see in the museum for you?
God, that's such a big question. As much as like I don't play it anymore, it would have to be like D&D to start with. Like that was like such a big part of my life. Like I did videos for Wizards of the Coast, and that like pushed me into my job at Dicebreaker. Like that very much like changed my life in a lot of ways. And like I can see its faults and stuff, and I don't really play it now, but like I did love it. It was like so good. I guess also like first big boy board game I ever played was Root. Like
nice.
Wow,
good
so
Lord.
many people.
Numenera and Root.
Yeah, had all the hurdles, everything to put me off. Possibly. She was like,
it's a miracle you still play today, isn't it?
Wheels is over here with Carcassonne.
Yeah.
Because I went to like my local like indie bookstore, and they're like, oh, I love them in Bath. They're called Mr. B's. If you're ever there, it's incredible. And they had a board game section when they like renovated, and I was like, this is incredible. Went in, I was like, this has little woodland animals on it. Like, this is so cute. I love it.
To be fair.
Bought it. Got home, and I was like, okay, asymmetrical. What does this mean? Like, oh my God, what is happening? But powered through and really enjoyed it. And I was like, oh my God, like, I have to get people around and play this. Like, there's so much happening. This is so exciting. Like, I'm having to think on so many levels, and like, I want to try the other factions and stuff. So again, like a real classic, but Root really was like my first like big board game taste beyond like, like Monopoly and the like. God, what else have I played?
Let's do one of each. Let's talk mini games, right? So
yeah, that's definitely got to be Frostgrave. Like that.
Oh wow, nice.
So good. Because I bought Warhammer and I was painting it all, and I was like, God, there's a lot to paint. Like this is. I think my first mini took me like 8 hours straight, and I was like, right, well, there's like 50 in the box. And then I don't even know how we came across it. I think my partner at the time was very like also into tabletop, and we were both kind of like getting into stuff, and he was like looking around online and was like, oh, there's this game where you play like wizards, and I was like, that sounds great, and we only need a few minis, and I was like, okay, cool. So we just like looked, like got the rules online, like set up some random like junk terrain and like cardboard we had, started playing, and I was like, yeah, I'm casting spells, I've got like little minis to move around. And I was like, oh, okay, skirmish games are great. I don't have to play huge army Warhammer. Like, this is my vibe. And Frostgrave is so fun, so good.
Yeah, Warhammer's the exact clone of D&D, where it's just
like,
the most accessible in a way that you can play it at any point with anyone, and it's very easy to get your hands on, and yet one of the densest, like most difficult to understand things for a new player.
Confusing. I've still never played a big game of Warhammer.
So I used to be a big Warhammer player. I ended up finding, much like you, Maddie, right? I realized this isn't the only way we can do this, right? So I found, games like Malifaux and I don't really play mini games anymore, but the more recent one that I really got into is MCP, and those are examples of like, this can be far more accessible, right? It doesn't have to be, you don't have to play a game with really pretty minis and shitty rules. You don't have to do that. You can actually have good looking minis and good rules. So I can appreciate that. So I've got your 3 major tent poles, Maddie. The last one I'm going to ask you is, what is a game that is teasing you right now? What's a game, whether it be RPG, mini game, or whatever, that you keep hearing about, you keep looking at, you're a little curious about, but you haven't like dove in and played it yet? Is there something that's been bugging you?
I keep getting Instagram ads for it. Because like it's parked to me. I keep seeing like all of my like friends who like do influencer stuff playing it and like loving it. It's the Ivy Studios Tend, like the roll and write where you're doing like alien farming.
Nice.
like I loved Three Sisters, which is obviously just like little backyard farming, like a million different little boxes to fill once you've rolled dice, like obsessed. This is like sci-fi versions. It's like a little fishing game, and like some of the dice have patterns on them that like show they're like plants, and you like plant them, and there's all like stamp pens that like represent stuff. I don't even know what's happening necessarily, but it's really cool and bright and colorful.
It sounds like it might be just complicated enough for you, Maddie.
Yeah, I feel like in another life, if they had dressed up in like pink and glitter, Maddie should have worked at like the DMV or something, you know, like just like filling in boxes. And
oh, I love, yeah, genuinely.
Asymmetrical on either side of the screen.
Yeah.
Right?
I love busy work. Like I'm like, if someone's like doing something like, I need to like fold a million like envelopes or something for like my wedding, I'm like, sign me up, I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah, I can quote you as saying, yeah, I love manual labor. That's the thing she has said to me in the past.
You know what's funny about that, Maddie? I have a little bit of that too. Like I like my version of that is like the factory video games, like Factorio and Shapes and stuff like that. Yeah. There's something just so soothing about just the and being able to fiddle and and build and do stuff like that. So I get it. Don't listen to Wheels. I totally get it.
Hey, he introduced me to Factorio, and then we played it like non-stop throughout an entire week. And we were like,
I'm not sure that was a nice thing to do though, because I define in Shapes as that way too. I literally was playing Shapes, drinking coffee before I hopped on with you guys. Those are the games where you're like, how the hell is it 3 a.m.?
Yeah.
Like what just happened? It's insane.
We had that exact experience, I think.
It genuinely feels like a blur when I think back on it. It's just me crashing the tiny car a million times and like seeing conveyor belts in my sleep. Like that's all.
I have a funny story about my brother who, so like my eldest brother Chris, who is also into games. I've recently got him into like Lorcana and things like that. Like he's nice. He's the most board gamey of the others, if you don't count me, And he had this weird experience where he was a kid, where he ate like a Chinese takeaway when he was ill, and it made him like his brain now just associates like Chinese takeaway food with being sick. So it wasn't until he was like in his late 20s that he ever ate like a chow mein or something, because it was just like he found it so difficult to break the thing. He had the exact same experience with Factorio, where he was like, he'd heard of, and like, this is a guy who plays like Crusader Kings, like all of the big heavy brain burner games. And he was like, I've been meaning to play Factorio for absolutely ages. It looks really, really good. I can't wait to play it. And one day he was like super hungover, and he was like, this is perfect. I'm going to just lie on the couch with a laptop, play Factorio. And he had the exact same thing where he was just like, he felt so ill that now he's just like, I see a conveyor belt and I feel like I'm going to throw up.
Makes him nauseous. That's really funny.
Which actually, I know he'd love it. I know he'd absolutely love it. He's like a computer science, like just complete mega nerd. Like does IT for a job. He would absolutely adore it, and he just can't play it now.
Yeah, I can see where that would be like, because you got all the conveyor belts moving all at once. I think if I was hungover, I'd find it a little disorienting.
It is overwhelming.
It's a very like, because the art style is so like crunchy, kind of 2D pixel art. It's got like a really odd aesthetic that I feel like it'd really meld your mind a little bit.
So Wheels, let's do your 10 polls real quick. So RPGs, we said 10 candles. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely 10 candles. That was my big sort of like aha moment for RPGs, I think.
And mini games?
For mini games, I also really like Frostgrave, but I think I only started playing Frostgrave properly when I was when Maddie was introduced to the team, because she was super passionate about it, and that was my tantalizing game for a long time. I was like, God, I'm desperate to play Frostgrave.
Yeah.
But actually, I think my big proper intro to minis, because I used to play 40k when I was a kid. I played 40k when I was like 15, 16. I've been a Tyrannid main my whole life. When I was really young, like when Warhammer Fantasy was still a thing that people actually did, like me and my brothers used to play it like in our home garage and stuff on like a pool table. And I just have like the hand-me-downs like I did for all of my life. So I just had like some random lizard men that they didn't want because it came in a starter box or something. But yeah, I think when I first started like proper getting into minis again, I was like, I really want to play more. I actually started playing Infinity. I was playing as the Hak Islam, which is like the sort of like Middle Eastern faction. And I was just like, this is great. Like, I love skirmish. I love the fact that I don't have to have 400 models on the table. And like, I've just released my own skirmish miniatures game. Like I'm very much like flying the flag of you don't need more than 10 models to play a cool minis game. yeah, that was like a big eye opener of like, wow, this like the rules feel so like they're a lot more complicated than 40k, if I'm honest, but they feel so much more interesting and well designed, and a bit less just sort of like how many d6s can I pick up in a single move, you know.
Yeah, and as complicated as Infinity is as a rule set, it's also somewhat intuitive, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's very like commonsensical, you know. Like it's like, yeah, of course my guy can lie on the floor, and like they've just tried to simulate everything in Infinity. If you've not played it before, like it's like a for those at home, it's like a sort of like sci-fi, cyberpunky kind of like squad-based tactics game, right? So you've got like, you know, you've got like hackers and mechs, but you've also got like, you know, just box standard soldiers with assault rifles and smoke grenades and all that kind of thing. And whereas like I think a lot of games try to abstract things, like myself included. Like abstraction is one of your best tools as a game designer, right? But with Infinity, they were like, no, we're going to simulate all this stuff. So like, weapons have like ranges, and you get like better quality of a shot based on how close but also how far you are. You know, it's a spectrum of quality of aiming. Then when you do actions, like all your actions happen basically like simultaneously in real time. So if I do a move action and then a shoot action, I'm actually shooting as I run across an alleyway, which means that my opponent can then fire back and choose any point on that line for when he took his shot and all this kind of stuff. And it makes it very confusing when you're first learning, but yeah, just plays like nothing else. It's so good.
Yeah. And so for you, board game wise, what do you consider kind of your tentpole board game?
I think Quantum was my first sort of like, wow, board games are so cool. I also remember getting like a copy of Dead of Winter, and that was a big sort of like, whoa. And at the time, you know, that was one of the big games. Yeah. I think I had seen it on an episode of like Tabletop, you know, like the Will Wheaton show and stuff like that. But yeah, I think just that original copy of Carcassonne was the thing that made me realize that board games weren't just Risk, you know, like it was the thing that was like, even though it is a very family friendly game, Carcassonne, it's like, it's something you could whack out with your grandma, you know, like it is a sort of like big gateway drug for the hobby, right? It's like, this is actually really kind of cool and interesting. And I remember like playing it a lot with my girlfriend at the time. She kept buying all the little mini expansions because she was like, wow, these little boxes are so cute. And then all of a sudden, like, I remember sitting on the floor in my third year university house, and we had like all the expansions plugged in all at once, and we were playing 1v1. I don't know if you've played 1v1 Carcassonne. It's actually incredibly mean. Yeah, like normal Carcassonne's pretty casual. 1v1 is lethal. And yeah, it was just like, wow, we're getting a little bit too into this.
So let's talk about your Instagram feed then, Wheels. What is the algorithm feeding to you right now? What is a game that's on your periphery? You know you're going to end up falling into that pit, but you haven't yet.
That's a great question. I think I have been neglecting RPGs for a long time. It's been a long time since I've just acted. I know, right? It's because we haven't had a solid group for a little while. Yeah. I will say, by the way, speaking of RPGs, like as much as I love 10 Candles, like my go-to proper like rule system is Blades in the Dark. Like I'm absolutely obsessed with Blades in the Dark. It's incredible. Yeah. Well, I had like a home game where we had like the entire map of Dustfall printed out to the size of a table so that we could pin jobs down on the board and stuff. And yeah, I'm obsessed with that game. And I think the game that is giving me that vibe that I want to play the most, and I'm going to start nudging Maddie to my side because I want her to DM it for me, is Household, if you've heard of Household.
From Two Mice. Very clever design team there, because not only is Household really interesting, it appears to be kind of a D&D reskin, but it's not. It is actually very different. The other game of theirs that you should check out too is, and between the two, it's the one that I prefer, but doesn't make it better, right? Is Outgunned. Is another game of theirs that they put out, which is a no apologies 80s 90s action movie RPG.
Yes.
You're talking to the wrong person. You need this one over here. Yeah,
Maddie, it's so good. It is and kind of like how, so Blades is one of my biggies. And incidentally, John just put out a new like supplement. Official supplement for it, which is pretty mind-blowing if you get a chance to read it. But what I loved about Blades is Blades supports a very specific style of play. You are scoundrels, you are in this, ghost city, and everything mechanically supports your ability to do scores. That's what you do. right? You can do scores in D&D, but this is built to do scores.
Yeah.
Same thing with Outgunned. It is built for just diehard, Face Off, Fast and Furious,
God.
that type. So you got to check it out. It is phenomenal. And Maddie, I'll tell you, it mechanically, I think one of the best, when I have this argument with people all the time, where I don't like generic RPGs anymore. I like RPGs like 10 Candles.
Yeah.
Right. I like that are designed to do one thing and to do it really well. And my go-to has always been Blades in the Dark. My new go-to is Outgunned is a perfect example of how, from a design standpoint, this is what we're doing. Don't try to play D&D with Outgunned, right? But anyway, so yeah.
I'll try and play Point Break instead.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's so, and if you're, I'm totally vibing with this right now. When you're reading the rule book, Maddie, you're like, oh yeah, that movie, that I could do this movie now and stuff. And then they put out a second book for it that completely the same size as the base rule book, all devoted to playing John Wick. With the Assassin's Guild and the hotel and the whole thing, and it's just oh my god, this is fantastic.
Because the whole fun of RPGs is I want to do stuff I could never do in real life. Let's do a wild action thing. That's so fun. Obviously, I want to be in a car chase and shoot my gun in the sky, screaming because my surfing buddy's getting away. That's everything I want.
And the currency that gives you a bonus die is adrenaline, and you're kind of get out of jail free redo is a plan B.
Oh my god!
It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah. I'll throw some links when we get off so you guys can take a peek at it. So guys, the Insider Insight series allows me to sit down with designers, developers, artists, writers, and creators and learn how they approach their work. I try to understand their process, inspiration, and the methods for crafting their creations. We have got a lot to talk about with Wheels and Maddie. I'm going to try to figure out where the hell Just for Fun Inc. came from. We'll be right back. This is the part of many podcasts where someone comes on, interrupts the show, and explains that you should consider paying for the content that you're listening to right now for free. That pitchman explains by giving $1 or more a month, you not only support the show, but you allow the show to grow and improve. Here on the third floor, we refuse to interrupt your episode of Tabletop Talk with such time-wasting pleas. We pledge never to run a spot asking you to go to patreon.com and give $1 or more a month, because supporting content creators keeps the content coming, even if there is a link in the show's description. And there is. We don't ask you to click it and become a patron. We don't waste time rambling about the benefits like early access to episodes, getting episodes without ad breaks like this, or even getting a chance to play in one of Craig's RPG sessions. Anyway, enjoy this episode knowing Tabletop Talk, despite being supported by its patrons, won't engage in such blatant appeals for support. Before this existed, I was somebody who really enjoyed the content that the two of you were a part of and were making specifically. So when I first saw the announcement that you guys were teaming up, which I loved, and that you were putting, kind of doing your own thing, super excited. So I'm going to read a quick little blurb to give people an idea of what Just for Fun Inc. is. And then we're going to kind of walk through where it doesn't exist and now it does. So Just for Fun Inc. is a YouTube and Twitch channel, TikTok, Patreon, and Instagram. The tagline is 2 friends playing games and having fun. Now, I don't want to get in too much into leaving Dicebreaker. That's old news. What I want to talk about is the first time you looked at each other and who said it first. Who said, hey, I think we should do something?
I honestly, I think it was both of us when we got made redundant.
But I know, because we started a podcast together, which we were just chatting about in the break. we became like really good friends really quickly. Like we instantly just really clicked when I started at Dicebreaker, and we were like, we should just make some stuff together. And at the time, because we were doing tabletop stuff, we obviously couldn't do anything to do with tabletop, despite that being one of our big passions. And then as soon as we left Icebreaker, it was like, well, there's nothing stopping us doing tabletop stuff together anymore. Like, let's do it again. Like, we loved doing that. That's how we became friends. Like, I would like to carry on.
Yeah, there was like, it was kind of an opportunity as well, because I think one of the biggest frustrations of Dicebreaker was the fact that like it was corporate owned, right? Like it was owned by a big company. Unfortunately, the company who previously owned it was like a big events company, which meant they didn't really know what to do with us either. It then got bought by IGN, and we were like, oh, we're really positive, because it's like, oh, you know, we're getting bought by a media company. Maybe they'll have a bit better idea. And then they didn't want Dicebreaker, so it was, you know, it was a real kick in the arse to just be like, right, okay, enough like having to do what other people think is right. When we've been sitting here, you know, like grinding our teeth and pulling our hair because we're like, this is how I would have run it if I was in charge of things. We can just do it ourselves, you know? So, it was very much a collaboration was already there. Like, we were already desperate to make things with each other anyway. And this was just our chance to just sort of replace what was our day jobs with now our hobby. So it's like, I'll point out as well that the ink part is mainly just because Just for Fun is awful branding, because everything's called Just for Fun. So we just had to add ink to our Twitter handle just so that we
sound very official.
We're like, we'll just make it a company, and then and then on TikTok and Instagram, TikTok and YouTube, it's Just for Fun show, because it's like what usernames we can find.
Oh god, it was a nightmare trying to fit this on. We probably should have tested that before we decided on branding, but
we like loved the name. Then we like did loads of like fun branding. We're like, this is so cute, I love it. And then we're like, oh wait, this is actually a terrible name. But then we're like, whatever, we'll make it work.
The key is you have to have a terrible name like Third Floor Wars, because nobody else has used it before. That's the secret. I had no trouble getting the domain. Nobody has that username on Instagram. It was super easy. And now it's just like, what the hell does that mean? But anyway,
we searched Just for Fun, because we obviously, you know, we did at least some due diligence. We were like, okay,
we were like, make sure we're not stealing it.
Yeah, let's make sure there's no board game companies called that, or you know, or channels or whatever. And it is just loads of like random, just like dump accounts with like nonsense stuff on them. So like, there is no real brand called Just for Fun. It's just a nightmare to get the handles. So, yeah.
So there's a multiverse, because I really, as I try to put myself in your position at that moment when, you know, your Dicebreaker is no longer part of your life, there's really two paths, right? And the path you guys took is definitely one that I would anticipate. I can totally see Wheels and Maddie leaping off of this and kind of doing their own thing. They don't have anybody telling them what to do. So where you guys ended up makes total sense to me. But I feel like it would have made just as much sense for one or both of you to go, you know what? Fuck this. You know, I'm done with this. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to use my skills tangentially, but not dealing with gaming. Why didn't you go that way?
I think for me, I'll let Maddie speak for herself, obviously, but like, I think for me, I don't think I'll ever not have something to do with games. Like they are my entire life, right? Like I think about games. I breathe and eat games. Like and if I'm not doing something around a game, then I feel like I'm wasting my time. You know, like I remember getting out of uni for the first time and scrolling through loads of marketing jobs that I didn't want and couldn't get, and I was just like, I don't want to do this. And you know, I was in like the privileged enough position where like I didn't have a time limit, because you know I could like move in with my parents and just try and figure things out. So I was like, I'm just gonna go hard, and I need a job in the games industry. I went for video games first because they're, you know, equally as important to me as tabletop is. And I was just like, I'm sick of doing crap work that I don't care about. I need something that I'm passionate about. I think that will just be me forever. Like if I don't care about something, I just can't do it. Like I'm already riddled with ADHD. Like I can't pay attention to anything as it is. I need to have some kind of passion for what I'm doing. But then that sort of bloomed for me into like, okay, well, I don't want to just make games. I don't want to just talk about games. I don't want to just play games. I want to do it all, you know, like I've always been quite creative, and I've always wanted to create in all sorts of different ways around that sort of topic. So yeah, I'm a game designer, I'm a game reviewer, I am a game player. Like I make videos about them, I make videos about what it's like to play them, I make videos about which ones I hate the most. Like it's like I need every single aspect to you know, sort of jack of all trades my way through the industry, which means that completely unhireable, but you know Craig,
I did it, Craig, because I want to eat.
You know, exactly, yeah. But yeah, Maddie?
Yeah, I guess for me, like I've always like liked making content in some kind of way. Like I've always like dipped my toes in doing little things. Like I used to run a blog when like blogs are things, and like never really like committed to stuff much. Like I would just like do a little bit, and then like something in my life would come up and I wouldn't do much more. And then when I started doing like content creation as a job, I was like, I love this. Like I love making videos. Like,
can I ask why, Maddie? Where does that come from, do you think? Where does that love
of video or just making
of making, right? Of creating content?
I don't know. I guess I've always been like a little like performer child. Just like I want to talk about things and share things, and I was like very excited and passionate about stuff. And it's fun to like talk about it with people, and it's fun to like I mean, it's great. Just like I love this thing. This is amazing. I want to talk about it. Like I want to yap and
we're yappers. Yeah, we love to yap.
People will listen, and that's great.
If we don't have somewhere where we can talk, then like it'll just be bouncing off the walls back at us.
I'll just be shouting at my friends, and I'm like, please stop, talk somewhere else.
So you guys say, okay, you know, let's do something. Let's do something together. Was there a conscious discussion, or was there an actual discussion around what our voice is going to be? What is this going to be that's different than what we've done before? Or have you guys just kind of been feeling it out as you go?
Yeah, I think one of our things we didn't want to carry over from Dicebreaker was that like when you work on like a news site, you're always chasing the new thing, right? Like we're desperate to like what's hot right now, like what's the thing that people are talking about, and that was very much like. That was like Matt's job as the editor-in-chief, right? He was just like, this is the hot new thing. And obviously it was a much bigger deal on the website than it was on video, because on the website we had people who were really locked in, right? So it's like they knew all about board games, and if you talked about an old board game, they've already heard about it before they need the new thing. Whereas for us, like when we were making the YouTube channel, all the people that we were speaking to were like, I just played my first ever board game. Thanks for recommending, right? And it was like, we felt like that was one of the strengths of Dicebreaker, was the fact that like most tabletop media that exists is so expert level, and they anticipate that you already know what a Eurogamer is, a Eurogame, sorry, or like a what the difference between a living card game and a trading card game and a collectible card game is, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, no, like most of the people that we speak to have no idea about that kind of thing. So like, you know, even when we make our sort of like expert level knowledge stuff, when I was, you know, one of the first videos we made was talking about Pauper, which is like a niche like sub format of Magic the Gathering where you play with only one level of rarity of card, and like it has weird combo decks that can win on turn one, and it's like it's the kind of thing that you would not recommend to someone if they were first playing Magic the Gathering. But like we wanted to approach that in a way where it was like, this is available to anyone, because as scary as it might seem to play like, you know, really competitive Magic, it's just a format, and if you're just playing with your friends, you know, you can play at any level, right? So it's like it's also just a really cheap and really cool way to get into like 60 card Magic. And if you've only played Commander before, which most people have, that might be really novel to you, and like this is a really great way to experience that. So that, yeah, I think that was a big thing for us. And then the other thing was also just like we don't want to talk about the things that have been like ordained. Like I don't want to talk about a game because, you know, like I feel obligated to. I want to talk about it because I care about it, right? And this is our voice, it's our channel. We're only going to talk about something because we think it's cool, right?
Yeah, it's nice. Like that's part of the reason why I was really excited when I first started working at Dicebreaker, is that it was a level that was like this is basically just like people who've played their first board game, who are like coming into it, because like that was very much me for most of my life, and like I was, you know, I'm relatively new to this whole scene, and like I've always been into a lot of nerdy stuff, but like as a girl, it's always slightly harder to get into. Like I was lucky that I had an older brother, so I had that kind of like feeding in, but like none of my friends played any kind of nerdy stuff growing up, like video games, tabletop stuff. So I was always just like, oh, I just want like some nice like friendly introduction to this, like, because I don't really know where I'm looking, because like I don't have any peers that are helping me. So like it's just nice to feel like I can try and do that for people. And like I, you know, every time I get a comment being like, oh, like thank you, like I was really excited to get into this, and like seeing someone like you talking about it like makes me feel less intimidated. I'm like, that's like everything I want. So carrying on that kind of vibe for just the fun of just being like, it's like fun and casual, and like it's just like two friends helping you through, like inspiring you to play some fun games. Like that's so much what I want.
Like the biggest one for us was when we were doing the Lorcana like how to play video when it first came out. Lorcana being Disney's trading card game. It ended up being like one of the biggest ones on the channel on YouTube, like for Lorcana, because it was like it was very different to the casual, very different. Sorry. in the way that it was casual and very relaxed and very friendly and bright and colorful. And you've got Maddie on it, who's like full of energy and excitement. And like we worked on that together, and like seeing all the people being like, I just played a game with my 7-year-old and it was amazing. And then like, getting to introduce my brother to it and having my little nieces play card games with me, it was amazing. And that feeling was really great. And like, we don't do a whole lot of like how to play content, but it's the fact that we carry that energy of, we're here to help you like jump in. If you're intimidated by board games, like we are the thing that's going to break down the gate for you. And like, don't listen to any angry YouTube comments. Like we're here to help you out. We'll hold your hand through this like scary new thing that you want to try out.
Magic the Gathering looks really scary, but like, no, it's like full of cute stuff, and like you can just like play a silly little wizard with pink hair, and like it's fun and chill. Like, don't let the scary people tell you can't do it.
Yeah.
So as somebody who creates content, I distinctly remember my interview where I was like, this is going to be the show. Right. So, and it wasn't my first interview, right? It wasn't my first episode. It was several episodes in before I got done. And I'm like, this is it. This is, I think this is what it's going to be. What was that for the two of you so far over the last year or so? What do you look back on? And maybe this Lorcana video, I don't know, where you're just like, yeah, this is us. This is what we're doing.
I don't know if we've even hit that yet, you know?
Yeah,
That's
because
possible.
we only launched like end of August.
Yeah,
it's
it's
November.
still very fresh and like I think we're putting out bits and pieces. One of the biggest challenges on Dicebreaker and still to this is that we just love doing everything, which means we don't have like a dedicated like voice on the channel. It's like we don't just make Magic the Gathering videos. So if you're here for Magic the Gathering videos, you'll get 2 and then 4 that have nothing to do with that, and then you'll get maybe 1, and then carries on like that. But yeah, I think the only like really core thing that we have, because our biggest platform is actually TikTok, which is where we do a lot of Magic the Gathering content, because it's ironically just the thing that we always have funny ideas for. So it's just like we want to make board game TikToks, we want to make RPG talks, and we've gotten better at that and sort of diversifying. But predominantly all of our views come from other people who play Magic the Gathering, sort of like on-in jokes with us, which I think is something that we never really got to do on Dicebreaker, because we just couldn't reach an MTG audience on Dicebreaker. It's a very, very crowded market, especially on YouTube. And it's something that we were super late to. And when we first started making content, I didn't even play Magic when I started Dicebreaker. Like, I didn't know anything about it.
Sure.
Now, we're elbow deep in it, but there's like a sort of like fun like new frontier on TikTok where we've managed to like carve out our own niche of making these dumb jokes about the game and stuff. So that's one of the things that I think like people know us for now, which is nice.
Maddie, I'd be curious, do the two of you have kind of a lighthouse that you keep driving towards? Are there any North Stars that you're trying to calibrate to? So is there any point where you say, let's do this, but does it align? Or is it just let's try some stuff and let's see what spaghetti sticks?
We're very much in the like, let's just try stuff. Like, we have lots of like kind of big like pie in the sky ideas of like stuff we'd want to make, like more like documentary style stuff, and like loads of ideas. Like, we both like love video. We love both like watch a lot of YouTube, watch a lot of different kind of video stuff, like films. Like, we like making video, we like making content, we like tabletops. Like, we have a lot of like quite ambitious plans and like stuff that we, half started at Dicebreaker that we'd want to carry on now, or like stuff we'd like to do. So honestly, like, the main thing is like we keep making stuff we're passionate about, stuff we're excited about, and like just trying to follow that at every point. Like, each week we're like, what are we excited to talk about? Like, let's start planning things for this and this and this. And like, if a video ever feels like we're not having fun anymore, then we just won't do it. So I guess that's our guiding principle, is like, are we excited and fun? Because that's what people who are watching will want to also see.
Through.
Yeah.
I also think like one of the like, I guess like USPs of like our channel like is the fact that we are both video professionals, like as well as like being on camera. We both know our complete Adobe suite. Like we're very much like we do a lot with the tech side of things. So like we try to make them look as nice and as polished and like as like above our punching weight as possible. Right. Like, we want it to be if you ever watch something like Command Zone with their sort of like Commander gameplay videos where it's like, yeah, splashy animations and like cool sound effects and cutaway camera angles and all that kind of stuff. Like, we try to put as much polish and like zhuzh into our videos as possible so that it makes tabletop feel cool, because I think one of the hardest things to convey about playing a board game or a card game or minis or whatever is that there aren't big flashy video game graphics that just grab you instantly. Like, if I'm doing a video game, we always used to joke about how easy video game content is to make, because like I'd like help someone out make a Eurogamer video or something like that, and I'm like, God, that took me like 10 minutes. I wouldn't have even set up the studio by now for Dicebreaker. But yeah, because you shove a little camera in the bottom left corner and then the video game speaks for itself. Whereas like there's a lot of work to try and convey the cool things about board games to the audience,
because so much of it is like so much of like the thing that really grabs people tabletop is like when you sit down to play, you're like, oh my God, like I'm feeling this and experiencing it like in my imagination, like in a way that nothing else can, in a way that like video games can't. And so it feels incredible. And it's like, yeah, if you can just try and add something to help people be like, get in that feeling, although they're not directly there, like as much as possible we try to do.
Well, it's tough, right? Because I think part of the love of the hobbies, all of these aspects of tabletop gaming that we're talking about, is the analog nature of it, right?
Yeah.
We spend so much of our time in front of these frickin' screens that it's really nice just to get around a table with other people and touch things, right? And to move things from here to there. And yeah, it can be difficult, I would imagine, to convey that back to the screen again. And I'd be curious, like, again, is that a conscious thing for the two of you where you're like, we have to figure out how to do this, or is it just natural because of the level of professional you are? Like, give me an idea of how we pull that back to the screen again.
I think like I've always found it with RPGs, I try and lean as far away as I can from like too much of mechanics to just like how I felt playing it, and just be like, you will feel like one of games I talk about a lot is Delta Green. I'm obsessed with it, and it's just like, yeah, like you I love that game so much because I've never felt more compelled to have to go down to the basement when I hear a scary noise because I'm the only one who can stop things. And it's like, that is the thing that really grabbed me. And it's like, that to me is the thing I should sell. It's not the fact, like, I like the mechanics a lot. Like, that's why I enjoy the game, you know, like I like Call of Cthulhu. It's very similar. All that stuff is interesting and good, but it's like, the reason why I'm like, I have to keep playing this is because of like those feelings. So like, I think for me, I just try and describe stuff. I'm like, how does it make me feel first and foremost?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the experience we have with 10 Candles or with Alice is Missing as well. Like those kind of like...
God, that game.
Yeah, like 10 Candles is just rolling some D6s around 10 candles. That like that is literally all you're doing. You've got like some pieces of paper, but like it's the fact that you're burning them in a bowl in a pitch black room, and everyone's like hushed because if they accidentally breathe too fast, then they'll blow out one of the candles, which has a mechanical effect in the game. Like, it's the fact that like the games can have such a compelling like pull to them that drags you into the world that they're trying to sell, which is what we then have to push onto a camera and make the other person feel as well, right? Yeah.
I'm constantly amazed with how powerful RPGs are. And the example I tell people all the time is when I do my standard question to guests, right? And a lot of my guests are RPG designers. And I say, take me back there, take me back. And a lot of times they're going like, when I was 12, I can see it on their faces. They go back there. They relive that. That's how powerful those moments can be for us. And excuse me. I saw it happen with Maddie just a second ago when she was talking about Delta Green. Like for 1 second, Maddie, you were back at the table playing Delta Green at that moment. And like you can't find that anywhere else. You just can't. It's very unique. So I check back in with you guys and say 2 years. And I feel like there's several different things I could see there, right? 2 years from now. I think one of the things I want to get a sense of is 2 years from now, huge success. Do you want to keep it the two of you, or are you hoping to expand this and make it a bigger thing? Because I think there's a good argument for both.
I think, for us, it's us, right? Like, one of the like big differences that you'll find if you watch Dicebreaker and now you're watching this is that like we aren't a company anymore, right? Like these are just our opinions. This is just us on camera. And I think it'll be difficult to introduce someone into that kind of world.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that, like, you know, you see a lot of channels that are very personality-led. They struggle when one of them wants to leave. And it's just like, well, what do we do now, right? It's like, how do we swap someone in? But yeah, it's like, this is just our passion project. So like, it's very much, it would be great to have people helping. I'd love for one day if, you know, some wacky world we were making enough money that someone could do an edit for me. That'd be great.
I hear you.
But yeah, I think outside of that, like, my opinion is very much like it's our thing, like it's our little baby, and like it will grow with us or we'll outgrow it. We'll see, you know.
And anyone that's come over to our house for a board game night and seen us interact, I think would be like, I don't think I would want to work with you guys.
I'm good, guys. Thanks. I appreciate the interview, but I'm good.
You keep screaming.
Literally
and like
last night we were playing SETI, which is very good. We're doing a
very
review of it
good.
I
right now.
hear it's good. Yeah.
And we were talking. We were talking about the ruling around moving through meteors, which is like it's very like semantics. We were just saying it costs you one extra resource to move through a meteor.
Yeah.
Does it cost you when you go in or when you leave? And I realized, like, as I was writing the review, that it's when you leave. And you were like, oh yeah, like I could do this. And I was like, oh no, that's going to cost you 2 extra because you're leaving a meteor field. And you're like, what? No, it doesn't. It's when you go in. I was like, no, it's when you leave. You're like, where does it say that? I was like, the rule book.
Okay, well,
To the side of us, the two lovely people that we invited around for games, are just like, what's happening?
look, we had played the day before and I had a different thought process. So I was just, you know, where does it say it? I just wanted information.
Good.
I'm not doubting you, Wheels, but you're going to show me where the goddamn rule is.
And I did, and I was right. But like the thing is, like, it's very difficult for people outside of us to know that we're having a great time in that interaction. You know, where it's just we're back and forthing and, like, you know, quote unquote arguing, and people are like, oh my god, are they having an argument? It's like, no, we're really not. Don't worry.
This is our love language.
Yeah.
So understanding that, then, for you, Maddie, 2 years from now, we sit down again. It's like huge success. How are you going to measure that, right? So what is the bars that you're reaching for?
I mean, it'd be great if, like, we could, at least one of us could do it rather than having to do it on top of a full-time job. Like,
Sure.
if we could at some point, I think that for both of us, that's how we would see it, as like, this is successfully reached its pinnacle, is like just being able to do tabletop stuff without having to also like have a day job and just like squeeze it in where we can. I think like that's
How about for you, Wheels?
Yeah, I think it's the same, isn't it? It's a boring answer, but we want it to be our livelihoods, right? And it's, you know, we had a sort of opportunity when, because for a little bit of, like, background info, basically, like when the IGN takeover happened, Maddie carried on working with IGN. So because they basically just sort of like slotted her into another role, because I was in like a quote unquote management role, I basically just immediately got made redundant. So I had like a window where I was basically just living off that redundancy package, which, if you're a US listener, it's a very horrible word, but it basically means like, we don't want you anymore. Here's some money, go away, right?
We're very familiar with that in the US too.
But that's what we call it over here. And it gave me a sort of like slot where I was like, okay, normally in any other situation, I would have to quit my job and gamble on this thing, right? Where it's like, let's just hope this works. And, you know, like, it's been a slow grow because, you know, modern YouTube isn't very profitable anymore, right? So, like, thankfully, we've had a window here where we can just do it without any risk, because I didn't have any choice in the redundancy, right? And I had like a window where we had some cash where I could still pay my rent whilst also doing YouTube as a job, which is about all you can ask for. So like we've had a window where we can try and get it a little bit sort of like moving without too much pressure, which has been really nice. So like when we get to the point where at least one of us doesn't have to worry about that anymore, it's just like, okay, this now like pays enough money that I can actually live whilst doing it and not have to get, you know, any other kind of employment. I can actually put full focus onto it. That'd be great. But yeah, if you want to help us do that, we've got a Patreon.
There's a link in the show notes. So I find it really interesting because I've had this conversation with a lot of creators, and let's be honest, there's very few people in this industry that make a living at it. Most of them are like the two of you and myself, where we have a job and this is our passion and our love. And I get this question sometimes. They're like, Craig, is there a world where you would ever want to do this full time? And for me, the answer is no. And part of that is my risk tolerance is not high enough, right? I think about me. Today I'm going to edit one of my episodes, right? But if I don't, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't matter. I still get paid next Friday, right? But whereas if I was doing this full time, then I have to get that done today. And I have a huge fear that would ruin it for me. If I had to do this podcast, I would not love it anymore. If I had to do my actual plays, I fear that I would lose it. Do you guys have that fear at all? Because doing this full time adds a whole new level of pressure and insecurity financially. Is that a factor in this goal?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like I've had to now pick up some like freelance stuff to try and make ends meet. And then that takes away time from doing the thing that you're hoping will, get bigger and all this kind of stuff. So like there is just a finite amount of time and energy that you have that you can put into anything. And if you get, very little out of it, like you obviously get your fulfillment, like you're enjoying what you're doing, you wouldn't be doing it otherwise. But if you make, I don't know, 50p in a week, then you can't sustain that, right? And eventually it will, it'll drive you to ruin. So there has to be some kind of like, balance, I think, between your expectations of what you get out of it and like the effort that you put into it. Because if you go whole hog and you're just like, I'm going to make this my job, and then you realize that it's not working, and then all of a sudden you have you've got rent to pay, you've got food to eat, and all this kind of stuff. Like that, you need to be quite realistic with this, especially now in the game. Like if we had started this channel back in, I don't know, 2012. Back when it was still quite a cottage industry that was only just starting to tick up. See channels like, like Dice Tower and Sharp and Sit Down and stuff like that, who just kind of rode the wave right when it needed to be ridden. And they've managed to make like a decent living out of it. And, like we just turned up quite late. So like we won't have that same privilege, which means that we have to work really hard for whatever we get. So yeah, there is a stress about it. Like it's something that does hang over you a little bit. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone who like has difficulty motivating themselves. Right. It's tough because like there's no one there to like outside of the actual like life that you need to live. There's no one there to tell you to get something done, right? The benefit of a 9 to 5 is that you've always got some kind of like person watching over you that forces you to do a thing, right? Whereas for this,
I feel like that's why it's quite nice doing it with someone else. Like I think that's always been my issue with content creation, is it's always just been me. So if I just stop doing it, then there's no one else to be like, hey, you've stopped doing it. Whereas like if one of us is having a bit of a slow week and the edit needs doing, it's like, okay, like maybe like I'll take over the edit and we'll swap, or like I'm like, hey, like let's like sit down and do it. Like there's always one of us like motivate the other. It's like, hey, like we need to film, like do you want me to set up so I can encourage you to film? And it's like, oh god, okay, yeah. It's like there's always someone to like make you do it, which is much better. It's just helpful.
Yeah, it's a necessary thing when you're a divergent, I'll tell you that.
So there's people listening right now that would dream of what I just got done talking about. Would love, like, I could just play games full time. I would love that. Like, I could just make videos all the time. Like, I could just, talk to, like, Craig, it must be awesome. You talk to creatives all over the world all the time. That must be amazing. But we, three of us know that that's just part of it, that there's parts that really freaking suck. And I'd like to get an idea, like for people that are listening, and not that we're discouraging anything, but I think it's interesting to pull the curtain back. What sucks with all of this?
I think, unfortunately, it's like you just have to be everything now. Like the biggest thing for us is like, I don't want to do marketing. Like I don't care about marketing. I don't want to have to think about like
going out a stupid podcast.
No, not even that. Like this is fun. Like I love me talk about myself. Sounds great. But like the idea of having to do like all the admin bits. Like we recently hit YouTube Partner, which is great. So it means that we can start making like AdSense revenue, and just like. the annoying little steps of admin that I had to do for half a day of just like filling in bank details, taking a picture of my face for biometrics. We're gonna send you a post thing with like your pin in it, and then you have to put that. I was just like, there needs to be someone in a company who just does this stuff, and it should be me. But this is it. There's only us two. Yeah.
I guess like I think like the pressure for like me, and like the thing that always gets me is like, and it sounds like very sad, you're like letting people down. It's like so often like we say like we're not always chasing new stuff, but like often we like chat to creators and like designers and stuff, and like, oh, I've got this new game, like do you want to cover it? I'm like, yeah, that sounds great, like I love your stuff. And then people email you and you're like, okay, I need to do this, and you're like, we're trying to fit in content around full-time jobs anyway, and like something, as soon as like one domino falls, like I had a bad week at work and then I'm kind of behind on TikTok and then other stuff, and then I get an email from someone like, hey, like did you want to cover this? I'm like, oh god, I want to, but like now I'm not doing it. It's like, it's just there's so much to do that it like can feel quite overwhelming, because there is like, especially because we're doing like literally as much as we can because it's exciting. We love all of this stuff. Like there is so much to do, and like, and again, we got comments from people being like, oh, you guys used to do Lorcana content, like I want to see your Lorcana content. And I'm like, we have it, like we keep meaning to do it, but like all these things need to fall into place before we can do it. And then like another month has gone by and we've done no Lorcana videos, and everyone's like, you guys used to like, I wanted to see your Lorcana stuff. And I'm like, like it's just, for me, I just want to like make everyone happy, and it's the stress of like, like it's when it is just like you and you're so small, it's like there's so many factors to think about, and like people don't realize, and therefore like I'm worried about letting people down because they might not realize like all this stuff is happening. I don't want to have to like put a tweet being like, big week guys, like if anyone is trying to email me and I haven't replied, by the way.
Like everything you just said, I felt every word of every sentence you just said, Maddie, like in my bones, right? It's tough because I'm going to make it about me for a second. Like there's been a couple things that are really important to me. Like this podcast is now big enough that I'm able to pull in some bigger names, right? Household names within the industry. But I constantly get reaches. People, smaller creators reach out to me, and it's important to me that I have their episodes too, right? But like you said, there's only so much time, and before I was begging for guests. Now I'm in a situation where I have to say no to people, and I really don't like that. Because, when I was booking guests early, they took a chance on me. I had like 15 listeners, right? And they're like, sure, Craig, I'll come on, know, and I've been able to do that for other creators now, right? That they've never been able to get platformed, and then I'm able to platform them. And I know what that feels like. But to your point, Maddie, there's only so many hours in the day. And I think about the same thing from my actual plays. So the APs that we do on the channel, on the YouTube channel and Twitch channel, are purposefully not the big games. There's stuff like Outgunned, right? And, stuff like that. And because that's important to me. We trust me, we've got enough D&D actual plays out there. We're good. We're good. They don't need me to come in there, right? Yeah. But there's not a lot of people shockingly doing Delta Green or doing Outgunned and, games like that. But again, it's just like, there's only so many, and I got a wife, I've got a child, and so God, I feel it. It is tough. It is really, really tough.
Because as a creator, you want to platform stuff. You're like, this is so cool. Like people should hear about this. And it's like, okay, well, I need to sit down, read the thing, plan a really cool video because I want to show it off, and then like, but this meme's really trending, so I should do this meme right now and do this. And it's like, it's just it's so hard trying to do everything. Like it is. Like.
God, the RPG space is the biggest thing for that, where it's just like, because if loads of big board games come out, I'm just like, that's cool. I know you guys will be fine. You've got Kickstarter going. Like, right. If we hadn't made a review about, or if we weren't making a review, currently about SETI, like it's Czech games, they'll be all right. I think it's like top of the hotness on Board Game Geek right now. It will sell. Where it's like, I get like an email from like a tiny little RPG creator who's just got an itch page. And they've got like this sick thing that I think is so cool, and I love reading about it and the blurb. But it's just like, I just don't have the time right now, and I'm also just like not in the headspace to make RPG videos right now. So it's like I'm not even a dedicated RPG creator. So like, sorry, I'm in the middle of doing like a big trading card game video that has nothing to do with this, and like I just don't have the room in my head right now. It's tough, but like. Conversely, I will say, like, the lovely thing, which we always used to love going to events when we could, which was really, really nice, because obviously it was, there was a company that was paying for that, which made it like for us free. For Dicebreaker, it was not, and it was very expensive. But for us, it was free, which meant we got to go to like PAX Unplugged and Essen and game. God, what am I trying to say? The big one.
Gen Con, stuff like
Gen
that.
Con. I kept saying Game Genic in my head because it's Gen Con. It's the
Love
accessory
Game
brand. Love Game Genic. Speak to us, guys.
Not enough people talk about it.
But yeah, Gen Con and things like that. And we would like walk past stalls and people would like go, oh, Wheels and Maddie from Dicebreaker.
Yeah.
Like you sold our game. Like we sold like 100 copies because you made a video about it. And it felt so good. It's like, yeah, I love that we, like got your thing in front of people because I love your thing. It's really cool. I'm so glad it helped you,
It's the thing that like really kept me going for like a long time because like when I started Dicebreaker, there was a lot of issues with like I joined quite late and therefore they weren't like making a lot of money at that point. So like I was stuck on quite a low salary for a while and I looked at quitting quite early on. But then we went to Gen Con. And then, like, I spoke to so many people that were like, oh, my God, like, yeah, like, I just love talking about games. And like, I was talking to designers and, like, all this passionate stuff. And I was like, oh, my God, I love this industry. Like, it's so cool to see all this stuff. People are so passionate. Like, especially being in the UK, we don't really get to connect with people very often. Like, there's not as much going on over here. So, especially going to America, I'm like, oh, my God, like, all these people are real and we can chat. And this is amazing. And, like, that just really kept me going for so long of just, like, feeling so inspired and excited to just, like, be part of it.
I will say, by the way, like, we obviously don't have the budget to go to events right now. Like, we had to, a lot of people are like, oh, you come to Essen? I was like, we cannot afford to go to Essen, I'm sorry. But we are visiting my brother for Christmas. If you're near New Jersey and you're a game side and you want to say hi, let us know.
In New York. I feel like New York,
yeah, you know what I mean.
Or Philadelphia. We can go up and down. The trains are there.
Unfortunately, we're missing PAX Unplugged, which is literally like 2 weeks before we go. But which sucks. But yeah, give us a shout. And maybe
cool.
If this episode is out early enough, then we'll say hello.
We're going to take a break. And when we come back we're going to talk about a little game called Freaks. We'll be right back. Are you enjoying our long-form interviews with creatives on this podcast? Maybe you're craving deeper discussions about our guests or some of the RPG plays on our Twitch and YouTube channel. Well, I've got an opportunity for you. You see, Third Floor Wars now has a Patreon-only Discord server. You can join a vibrant community of like-minded enthusiasts diving deep into every episode of our RPG plays and podcast. Connect with fans, engage in spirited discussions, and unlock the behind-the-scenes insights. For just $1 a month, access a world of tabletop gaming goodness. Connect with passionate gamers who share your love for the Tabletop Podcast and everything produced on the third floor. As a Patreon supporter, you also enjoy ad-free episodes of this podcast. You can immerse yourselves in captivating stories and fascinating interviews without interruptions, taking your listening experience to a whole new level. By joining the Third Floor Wars Patreon community, you not only gain exclusive access to the Patreon-only Discord server, but you also support the growth of my podcast and channels. Your contributions enable me to continue creating high-quality content that entertains, educates, and upskills tabletop enthusiasts like yourself. Maybe don't wait. Join the Third Floor Wars Patreon today and unlock a world of camaraderie, discussions, and knowledge. Visit patreon.com/Third Floor Wars or check the link in the show notes and come join our community. The Third Floor Wars Patreon-only Discord server awaits you. I and the other patrons can't wait to welcome you with open arms and a fistful of dice. So the timing for me booking you guys turned out to be pretty good because it was just a couple weeks ago that the two of you put out, Wheels, you being the designer, and I know, Maddie, you helped with this, a new skirmish game called Freaks. So I'm going to read the blurb and then we're going to find out where the hell this came from. Freaks is a rules-light skirmish game set in a bombastic post-apocalyptic world of mutants and cartoon violence. Freaks is full of streamlined gameplay that gets you playing fast. Generate an entire squad in seconds by drawing from a standard deck of playing cards. Move your fighters without measuring. Resolve attacks in a single match die roll. So I use the museum analogy, and we go to the Freaks exhibit. What's the first thing I'm going to see there, right? So I want to know, what was the day before Freaks, you started work on Freaks?
I think I very often, when I'm in that headspace of like, I want to design a game, because I'm now like, I've got a few games under my belt. Like I've done a few now. I've been messing around with the idea of game design since I was about 15, and we first played that D&D game. I was like, this sucks, I'm going to make my own thing. Like, I don't know where they are, but somewhere there are like sheets of paper where I have like hand-drawn character sheets when I was like 16 or 17 of like this game where you play skeletons in hell, and the healer class is like a milkman because he gives you calcium and stuff like that. and like, yeah, I've been doing that my whole life. I just love like making up little systems, and it took me a long time before I actually said I need to stop doing 10% of something and leaving it forever. I need to actually finish something. At which point I was like, I'm just going to start with like a little mini RPG. It was a little game called Wiznerds, which I still love to this day. It's like a very dumb little, like, you roll a couple of d6s every now and again, but the main game is basically just you are in a magical school and something bad happened, all the teachers are now gone, and you have this big sheet of magic words, you don't know what they do, so you just read them out loud and hope for the best, and then the DM interprets what spell you've accidentally cast. And I put that out, and like, people seem to enjoy it, and it got like, a couple of people bought it. Obviously I was in Dicebreaker at that point, which is, that had the benefit of people seeing my name and things like that. And from that point, like, I gradually got more kind of like ambitious with my designs, and eventually I was like, okay, I've had this idea for like a playing card driven RPG for a while. I'm going to try and make this actually happen and maybe do a Kickstarter. Ended up kickstarting it, like, got like a lot of backers, like a lot of passion behind it. Worst thing I've ever had to do. Kickstarter is a nightmare.
Why?
It's just like, if you hate admin, don't ever do a Kickstarter. It's horrid. You got to do shipping, and you have to work out tax rates, and I was like managing 14 different artists and loads of like design, like guest design writers and stuff. I had to like start an entire Discord server just to be able to talk to them all at the same time. Then I had someone doing distribution, and then all this stuff. And all the while, I'm trying to make like marketing videos for it. I'm trying to post about it on social media and all this kind of stuff, because you are just one person doing everything. And when you're a company, that's fine. When you're just one person, it's very, very difficult. But from that moment, and honestly probably before, I've just been obsessed with playing cards. I love them as a design tool because they just have, like, you look at a D6 and there's about 4 things you can do with it. You look for a playing card and there's just like this infinite, possibility space where you've got the suits and all the cards have numbers on them. You can take them out and swap them out. So like with The House Doesn't Always Win, which is the RPG I was just talking about on Kickstarter, like I had this kind of thing where the diamonds were separated from the deck and they were like the ruling class that you were trying to overthrow. So you're playing as like these revolutionaries, and you would use them for like challenges, and you were looking for certain suits to certain actions and kind of stuff. And it's just so fun to design with playing cards because there's so many different inspirational things you can do. Same with tarot as well. Like there's a reason so many people use tarot for RPGs, because it's just such a like object that just gives you information as soon as you look at it, which, especially when you're making like prompts and stuff, is fantastic. So when I was like messing around with card games, and eventually I was, after being like binging Frostgrave with Maddie for ages, I was just like, I really want to make a minis game. Like, I would love to just make like a little, I know at the time it was just gonna be like a couple of sheets long, like a silly little game. And I was like, what if, like, instead of having like a standard unit card, you like drew a card from a deck and it gave you a random magical power, right? And that was the the initial pitch. And I was inspired by all the crazy amounts of different spells that you got in Frostgrave. I was like, wow, you can almost like have a whole deck of these things. And then I was like, well, one of the annoying things about Frostgrave was the fact that only my wizard could do these cool spells.
Right.
What if all of my units could do this stuff, you know? And it went from there, and it wasn't very much like I was trying to replace Frostgrave. I love Frostgrave. I think it's it's probably a better game than Freaks. But like, you know, I wanted to like ape on that and take it to the nth degree and just be like, what if this was just the most ridiculous thing? Like everyone could vomit up hand grenades and you know, like there were guys with giant wings and people with acid for blood, and like what's the craziest like board state we could get. And then eventually ended up at the sort of core gimmick of the game, which is basically like, not only do you get these random powers throughout your campaigns, but also whenever a unit dies, you can physically steal the powers out of their body and put it on your units, which it has this like really fun like self-balancing thing where no matter how like ridiculously tricked out you've got this randomly generated character, as soon as it dies you've handed that to your opponent. So it's like this really cool like kind of like back and forth like really chaotic game. So yeah, started working on that, and then like massively proud moment for me because it was the first time I ever sort of like pitched a game to a publisher. I ended up being Osprey, a UK based science part of Bloomsbury, and they're like, yeah, they're fantastic to work with. We always had like really lovely interactions with their marketing team, like Benji and stuff like that, and chatted to him. I was like, who's the person who I talked to about this? Sat down one Essen when I was supposed to be working on Dicebreaker stuff, and yeah, it's fine. And pitched my game, and you know, here we are. It's just launched, you know, in the last month or so, and yeah, I've got like I keep saying this, I've got an ISBN number. That's so crazy.
That's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. Like, and it's hardback, and like you can like find it on Amazon, which I don't know. It's just all those weird little things where it's just like, yeah, I'm in a shop somewhere. That's so cool, right? So that was massive for me. Like and then you know, as I was finishing it, I was, you know, this is when I was really in that space now where we were getting towards the end of Dicebreaker, and me and Maddie were just desperate to do things together. Like wanted to work on projects together, and I was like, what have you made some of the scenarios for Freaks, because I know you love Frostgrave as much as I do, and I want to see what you would make for it. So it ended up contributing to the scenarios for it, and yeah, here we are.
So what's interesting for me here is, Maddie, you were watching this from the outside, right? So you're watching Wheels go through this process of taking this little small idea that he was, you know, in an RPG and expanding it out. And then we have a minis game. From the outside watching this, when did you get a sense of, I think Wheels is going to take this over the finish line? This is not just a 10% idea. He's not going to just play with this and it's going to fade away. From the outside, when did you know that Wheels was going to end up publishing this?
I guess like as soon as you pitched it and you were like, oh, I've just pitched this. And I was like, did you tell me before or afterwards? I don't think. I just think you had like
a spoken about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I was like, don't tell Matt, but I'm going to go to a business meeting.
Yeah. Okay. And I was like, that's so cool. And then when you pitched it, I was like, yeah, like that's real. Like you've like, to get to a pitching point, you've had to like think a lot about stuff. Like especially, I mean, like my background is more like in writing and stuff, so I have like knowledge on like pitching novels and things like that. Like have a lot of friends that have done that. Like I have a lot of writing groups and stuff. So I was like, yeah, I'm like, when you're like pitching to people, that's pretty serious. Like that's like the big step, as like far as I know. And then yeah, like you were writing about it and like talking to you, like sending me little things about like the gods and stuff in it. I was like, this is so cool. And then sat down to playtest it, and I was like, oh my god, this is literally real. Like this is a thing. And like by that point, like the pitch had gone through, and like you it was like, you know, this was a game that was going to come out. Yeah, I don't know. I love working with you because like I've literally never met someone who's got like such like a mechanical like mechanics mind. Like I think a lot of people, like including myself, like when you think of creative projects, like I just start with like the vibes, and that's always been my thing. Whereas like you really start with like the mechanics of a game and like what would make it really interesting and fun to play. And I think just like starting from that, I'm like there's loads of like games you've like talked to about like you want to make, and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I love the vibe of that. It's like I just turned off at S and someone's like, this is the mechanic. I'm like, I didn't know the vibe yet. I hadn't even seen the box art or whatever. I'm just like, oh my god, that's such a cool idea. Like, yeah, sign me up.
I as you said earlier, like the idea that like generic RPG systems, you're just not interested by them. Like I'm very much the same. As soon as I hear that something is powered by the apocalypse, I'm like, my interest level has dropped like 50%. And as much as I love the vibes of this, like I think it's a really cool setting you've made, like all of that stuff is always secondary to me, to the mechanics. Like I'm so interested in game design. That's why I like I want to do it. I want to talk about it. I want to review it. Like, you know, I love seeing mechanics and how they interact, and I'm so fascinated by like the theory of game design and stuff. And I've never really had any like actual you know, like background in that. Like, I haven't done any education on it or anything like that. Like, I've very much just sort of like always as a hobby just sort of like looked into this stuff and been interested by this. And I think because I've been doing it since I was so young, like I've picked up a weird way of doing it, but like I've got my own kind of like process for going through it. You know, like Jimi Hendrix never knew how to read music. You know, like you just sort of like
are you the Jimi Hendrix of game design? I can make something
out
of that. Is that what we're saying?
Maybe.
Who could say? I could never comment, but you know. But yeah, like Freaks and the House of Noise Win and Wizards, like there are no generic RPG systems I use. Like I was interested in making something with Forge in the Dark just because I love that system so much. I was like, I was interested in what I could do with that, and I've got like a half-written thing in a Google Doc somewhere. It's about cowboys, but yeah, everything else is just like I start from the ground up of this is the core mechanic I want to mess around with. So like with the House of Noise Win, I was just sat on my couch messing around with a deck of cards. Like, what could I do with this? Like, how could I make this into a thing? And then I was like, you know, I was thinking about, ironically, a Forge in the Dark game, but like there's a, oh god, what's it called? It's the one where it's Forge in the Dark, but you play a mercenary company. And it's, I don't know, somebody at home will know it, but basically the idea is you play many characters. So like, which has always been interesting.
You're talking about,
Band of Blades.
Strauss's game. Band of Blades.
Band of Blades. Band of Blades was like the thing that got me thinking. And I haven't even played the game. I was just like, oh, that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
What if, you know, so I started looking at the deck and I was like, what if each of these was a character? You know, what would that mean? And all this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's that kind of like process for me where it's like the theme is something that the mechanics will tell me, you know, like I don't sit down to write a game about the apocalypse. It's more the fact that like, okay, well, I've got this wacky game where like powers get shot back and forth. Like, what does that mean? Is that like mutations, I guess? So it's like, you know, and then that's where it comes to. It's like, so it's very much like a mechanics first. And I feel like if you see this in a lot of like Euro board games, if you could take all the theme and strip it out and then just dump another theme on top, then the mechanics to me aren't doing anything interesting, you know, where it's just like what you've made is a puzzle that has some pretty pictures on top, right? Like the best games are the one where you cannot separate the mechanics from their like thematic pairing without it like just making no sense, you know? Like they have to exist together.
So, Wheels, when I talk to people that have made games, the one thing that I hear over and over again, and I want to know if it's true for you, is that I'll hear that there was one thing that was just bugging them the whole time. Just that one gear that just couldn't mesh perfectly, and it plagued them every step of the way. And what I often hear is at the end, either they dropped it and it made all the difference in the world and the game finally worked, or they fixed it and then the game finally worked. Was there something that plagued you during the design process?
Yeah, it's the movement system.
How so?
So Freaks uses measurementless movement, which basically means you don't have to get a tape measure out to move your miniatures around, which is like, I think one of the most annoying things about miniatures games is that like there is this wall between us and the game where we have to deal with stats and like inches and centimeters and templates and stuff, where it's like, I know how this works, but I'm having to like convince the game rules that it will work like that, you know? Where it's like, I have to like speak through this lawyer language to my opponent to say like, can you see that I can do this? Do you understand what I'm doing?
Right.
Whereas I wanted it to be just intuitive. And when you're moving stuff around on a board, the amount of times where it's just like, this unit moves 6 inches, this one moves 7, this one's like 6.5, and I'm like, what? Then why? Why? If they get 1 inch of movement, like, you know, like, and all this kind of stuff, and it was always so frustrating to me, especially with some really bad memory, because I spend so much of a miniatures game with my nose in a book, like trying to figure out, oh god, what does this guy do again? So like, I basically just wanted a system where it's just like I pick things up and I move them around, and then I can't remember, I wish I could, but like there was a system that someone had put online that I hadn't even read, but I just like had seen someone describe in a Twitter thread where basically you pop terrain on a place, and then the way they had it was you just pick a terrain piece that is like one of the closest ones to you, and you just move to it, right? So like the way you design the board is all the movement done for you, so that when you're playing the game, you just sort of like you teleport from piece to piece. And I was like, I like that, but I'm gonna build from that, right? So it was like I ended up making this system where essentially like at the start and at the end of your move, there are all these little tools that you can use to help you, which you will just memorize. Like everyone gets to do it. So like eventually you're just like, oh, you know, this wall is knee height, so I can just jump over it and then do my move. Like all that kind of stuff. Or, oh, this is one story tool, so I can just climb over it, or I can jump off, and all these things. Things that normally will have an entire 2-page spread of rules for. I tried to get every single thing into one 2-page spread. So like all movement is like, I think, covered in this game, where you shouldn't have a question, and most importantly, you shouldn't have to argue about it with your opponent, where it's just like huge. You sit there and you've got your model, and it's just like pretty much all terrain at the start of the game is roughly about 6 inches from each other, right? So 6 inches is always like the classic like movement. You see it like in Warhammer. It's like it's a chunk of movement that your guys can move around, especially at like 28mm miniatures. So I was like, okay, well, you know, if the board is already set up like that, you don't need to measure, right? So you just sort of like, you slide them in a straight line, and then you just stop when you hit something. And then basically all of the game design was built around this one central question I had to answer when it came to the movement, which was like, what if someone is sat there like looking at this tiny sliver of space where if they draw their line just right, they can get from one corner of the board all the way to the other, because technically they didn't hit anything. Right. And I think drop it, I guess, is the thing that that worked for me in this way, because I basically I changed my approach, and I was just like, the thing is, I'm designing this game that is meant for people who want quick, fast, easy, like approachable, if this is your first ever miniatures game, I want this game to be really useful for you, where it's just like, I can just jump in, drop in, and I don't have to spend 8 hours playing this. I can just sort of like, all my movements done in a couple of seconds, like all this kind of stuff. So I was like, if I'm designing a game for those people, why is all of my design focus around trying to curtail the people who are power gaming and are trying to eke out the biggest tactical advantage they can from the smallest little bit of like loophole in a rules text? So right at the front of the book, if you buy it, there is a big yellow splodge of paint, and it's called the Golden Rule. And the Golden Rule of Freaks is, do whatever is the most fun. Don't be a dick. Right? It's just like, so, because it should be, you know that when you found like a weird loophole in a rule system, you know that what you're doing feels outside of the realms of the design. You know, and sometimes that is the design. Like Magic the Gathering is like that, where it's just like, I found this weird interaction that makes this combo work, and that's really cool. Like I love that, because Magic is written in a way where it tries to stop you doing that as best as it can, so that when you do find the way that it does that, you feel really cool and smart, and it makes this really fun interaction. Whereas this game is not built like that. It's built in a way where you are supposed to be on a level, honest playing field of your opponent, where you're both just trying to have the best, most fun time possible. So like there's this like commander style like agreement between you and your opponents, where it's just like, I'm not here to try and play the most meta version of the game that exists. I'm here to have fun and do cool things. And we can both agree that when I move this guy over here, that's a movement. We both know that's a movement. Yep. Whereas when I slide all the way across the table, that's obviously bullshit, right? So it's just like, I that was my kind of go-to. And I think a lot of people who are like, you know, like very, very rules focused probably won't mesh with that very well. Yep. I think it might be nice for them to try it, because it might be refreshing for them. But yeah, like at the end of the day, I was like, you know, you can't make a game for everyone, otherwise you make a game for no one, right? So I was like, I'm designing for the people who think like me, who want to just like, that probably works like that. The amount of times where I don't know the answer to a rules question, so if I can't find it in the book, me and my opponent are just like, this feels the most fair, you know, like this feels like it benefits both parties the most, let's just play it like that, right? And that is how I approached the design for that in the end, where I was just like, I've tried to lay it all out, I've tried to give you all the different like edge cases, but if you find some weird thing, like just don't be a dick, just do the thing that makes the most sense and feels the most logical, you know?
So Maddie Wheels turns to you and says, hey, would you write some scenarios for this? Foolishly, you say yes. And because we all know there's huge money in this, right?
There was some money.
It actually was, which is wild. I was not expecting, but that's publishing. It's real.
For you, Maddie, after you say yes, what do you do? What's the first step?
The part of the reason it came about is because we were like play testing and talking about it. I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if like there was a map with this. Like, and what if like this happened? Because like it's the classic when you get into something, you're like, oh my god, and like, oh, this would be cool, if this would be cool, and like, oh, I can see how this would be really fun. And I think it just like says my days, and you're like, yeah, okay, like, would you like to try designing a scenario? And I was like, oh my god, okay, like I'll have a go. And like went and sat down and like, because I think it was like because all the movement and stuff is really fun, and like because I can't even remember which one I designed first, but I think it was just like, oh, it'd be really cool if there was a map with this, because I can see how this mechanic would make this really fun and stuff. And so like I went home and did that, and then like sent it over to you, and you're like did some edits and stuff, and you're like, yeah, well, like this works. And then you told me more about the game, and like kind of like, oh, there's like you can have like a monster or something. I was like, oh my god, okay, like what thing would I want to like fight in this game? Like what would that be really fun about? And like created my little dust bunnies of like, so I was like, it's like an apocalyptic wasteland, or like what if all like a big wind came along and like got all the little bricks and like random stuff together, and like that became something you fight. Like very cartoony, because I love cartoony stuff. So I
think one of the lovely things about, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I think one of the lovely things about that is the fact that when I was making my scenarios, I feel like they were all quite cut and dry, because it was just like I was trying to make a core system.
Yeah.
Whereas like all of my like, you know, focus was having to make sure that all these things work. So whenever I was writing a scenario, I was like, oh shit, now I need a thing for this. So like I jump back to the main rules text to do this. Whereas for Maddie, like because she got to come in with all the like tools already made for her, it meant she could get a lot more like interesting and wacky with her design. So like hers are the most sort of like fun and flavorful things. And one of the really lovely bits was when Maddie asked me a question about like the lore of the game, like how does this work? And I was like, well, you figure that out. I was like, you know, because it sounds like you got cool ideas about it. So feel free, because you know, there's like a little like lore excerpt at the start of every scenario, so give you an idea of like what's happening in the world, and it's all quite light. But it's like Maddie was like, so like the artifacts, like where do they come from? And I was like, where do you think they should come from? So she's like, what if there was like a meteor storm and they fell to it? I was like, yeah, sounds sick, do it.
Yeah, I'm so coming from my like background in like writing novels to be like, what's the story? What's the lore? Who are these characters? How am I getting into the vibe? Like I'm so story focused. So like that, and that was so fun that you were like open to it and wanted to talk about it. And it was just so exciting.
So guys, we're going to take one more break. We've talked about the stuff that Wheels and Maddie make. Now we're going to find out what they're grooving on. We'll be right back.
This is Sean. You may have heard of me from such movies as Brett and Sean Go to Illinois, 2 Motorcycles, 1 Stick of Dynamite, and Gaming and BS. What kind of RPG podcast is that? After my NFTs were stolen, I decided to become a patron of Third Floor Wars. The content is great, and it costs me less than a good shot of liquor. So consider becoming a patron. It may just land you your next big role. Head over to patreon.com/Third Floor Wars. Tell Craig Sean sent ya.
I've learned as I go through this, talking to creators, that instead of talking about what they make, I find it far more valuable to find out who they are and why they do it. And from that, we understand what they make, right? And we just did it with Freaks. We learned a lot about who the two of you are as creatives. And now Freaks makes a lot more sense to me than if I just, had Wheels explain to me the rule sets and, Maddie, you explain to me your scenarios. I feel like we have a much better sense of it, but I feel like the end cap to this is, what are you doing when you're not creating, right? So what are you watching? What are you reading? What are you playing? Because I find that almost as insightful as what you make, because they inform each other. So I'll start with you, Maddie. What is something recently, a book, a video game, an RPG or whatever, that just has gotten its hooks into you and will not let go?
The so many things I could say, but for some reason, it's making me laugh because we bought Dead Rising 2 on Halloween sale.
Yeah, what game?
And I feel like that is such an epitome of our vibe. We're just like, we're like, God, wasn't that so fun to be in a mall and just like hitting zombies with signs and like random oversized like perfume bottles from shops? And we just like started playing it. We're like, this is so fun.
It's so great because it's the most 2010 video game ever.
It is too, isn't it?
Yeah, God, the main character is a motocross professional. You're running around like putting on stupid outfits and like lawn mowing zombies down. Every female character has the largest breasts possible. Like it's just
like
such
Playboy ads everywhere.
Yeah, it's so
Jesus Christ,
stupid.
guys, take a break.
But God, is it fun? It's just such a silly. Because I love if you don't know Red Dead Rising 2, for those at home, like it's basically like. The first game was, you are a journalist and you've heard that there is some kind of zombie thing happening. You turn up in a helicopter and you get stuck in the mall where the outbreak is happening. And then it's like a real-time game where you're like running around trying to survive, but also trying to like figure out what the scoop is. And then for the sequel, they were like, let's go crazy. Because it was already weird, but like this is like weird to the nth degree. So it's like, it's set in like Vegas. You're in like casinos and malls. There's like showgirl zombies. Like there are like psychopathic motocross pros who are like trying to chainsaw you down. The opening scene is you on like a game show where you like after the zombie apocalypse, everyone was like, yeah, this is great, there's zombies and now we can mow them down live on TV for entertainment. It's just the dumbest thing ever. And like you'll be riding around on a kid's pink tricycle wearing a Lego man head and like chainsawing zombies in half, and then it's like, oh, I need to go give some medicine to my daughter who's dying, by the way.
Like it's those like video gamey video games.
It's so silly.
It's just so fun. And that we are playing loads of other really fun games and like stuff, but that is just the first thing that came in my head because I was like, obviously it's gonna be so stupid, but I have to say Dead Rising 2 is what we're doing.
Not stupid at all.
£3 on Steam when we got it, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, have a look out. We've been streaming it on Twitch if anyone wants to watch us play. It's
that's
very, very fun.
So, I mean, obviously, you know, the vibes, right, is obviously what you're digging on it. Is there something that you think that is uniquely it though? Like, so is there anything in the gameplay that keeps you coming back, or is it strictly just like, this is so much goddamn fun?
I think that's what the unique thing is. Like, we just want to make a game that feels very fun. We don't need necessarily, like, I mean, they do have a story and stuff, but like, I feel like they're quite like self-aware and it's quite like enjoyable to be like, yeah, fuck it, let's just like run around in a mall and like hit zombies. Like, that is what I want from a zombie game, you know? It's like, you know, like Last of Us is great and there's a place for that, but like there is just a place for like being really silly.
Like we were sat there and we were like, why aren't more things set in malls? This is so fun. There's like loads of different like weird novelty shops. Because obviously, like the central gimmick of Dead Rising is that you can use anything as a weapon. Yeah. So like, yeah, you could have a lawnmower. You could have like a sword that someone had like as a wall hanging in a casino.
I mean, Dead Rising RPG when?
Yeah, sounds great, right? And then like, you know, there was a bit where we were in like, you were like getting messed up by zombies, and you're like, what are you doing? Because I had climbed on top of a shop and grabbed the like moose head that was hanging on the wall so that I could put it on my head and charge around like a
You're
train.
like, don't worry, I'm coming. And I was like, where are you? There's just like flying in the distance. You just come forward with a moose head. I was like, what is happening?
But then I was sat there and I was like, God, we should set a miniature game in a mall. And I was like, what if like, you know, if Osprey commissioned like a campaign book for freaks, I'd love to set it in a mall. That's a great setting. So like it always helps. Like you play something, you're just like, oh God, this is such a fun idea. Because like I think my original pitch was, I don't know when campaign things would happen if they do, but like, you know, I'll probably look at Frostgrave and like how quick they were after one another. But usually when people play campaigns of minis game, they want like a fun, like pre-built one that they can go through, like a D&D module. So I was like, if I get asked to make one of those, it'd be really cool to set it in like the subway, for example, like a Metro 2033 kind of vibe where it's going from station to station and thing like that. But now I'm like, God, let's set it in a mall.
Let's get a moose head in there. Let's go to Vegas.
Incredible. How about for you, Wheels? What is something recently, book, video game, TV series, something that's got its hooks into you?
We've been playing a game called Raven's Watch recently.
Ooh, tell me about it.
This is a like co-op sort of dungeon crawler kind of thing, but it feels very much like you're playing an action version of like a MOBA, you know, League of Legends or something like that. So you have these very specific like hero characters. They have like a row of abilities that you can activate at certain times with cooldowns and things like that. But instead of like RTS style controls where you're like clicking around, you're using WASD and you know, like clicking to attack and this kind of stuff. So a lot more actiony. It reminds me a lot of a game that I was absolutely obsessed with when I worked at Creative Assembly called Battle Right, which was just like an online 3v3 like hero battler, you know, like isometric League of Legends style combat, but with the, you know, WASD and clicking. And this is basically just like a co-op version of that. And it has actually inspired our next game design that we are currently working on. Like it's a game in which we're trying to like bottle that experience and put it on a tabletop.
Nice.
So I think there are a lot of like dungeon crawly hero battler kind of things, but I feel like a lot of them kind of tread the same ground of we are moving on like a hex or square grid and we're rolling dice, and we have made it a lot more miniature gamey. So like we're making something that uses both cards, you know, like laid out like a magic card kind of thing, but then those cards become your measuring tools, they become your resource, like all this kind of stuff. So it's, you've got 3 minis, you've got a deck of cards, and then you are like playing on a board with this kind of like Mowbray style, like I'm either trying to take out the enemy team or take out their base, and we're really passionate about it now. Like we had this hilarious thing where, and I guess this is one of my other things that I'm like grooving on right now, where we were like, we needed some minis to play test with. So I like contacted some local 3D printers and like, you know, like searched up some models you could purchase online, and they quoted me and they were like, yeah, I think to print these off like is going to be like £150 total minimum. And I was like, oh, that's a lot just for like a fun playtest when we could just be using like paper discs. And I was like, well, I've been looking at videos recently about 3D printing, and I saw this cool 3D printer that, like, you know, it's a filament printer, so it's like FDM, so like, you know, it's the standard 3D printing that you think of, rather than resin. And the reason most people don't like resin is because it stinks and it's chemically, and if it gets in your skin, it's like, it's not a good thing to have in a house. But there's this new one that's like really plug and play from Bamboo Labs. It's called like the Bamboo Lab A1, and it comes with a mini version as well, and you can get a smaller nozzle for it that is really good for printing like tabletop miniatures. And it just so happened to cost around £150. And I was like, well, it's kind of a business expense, you know.
That's
and like,
right.
if I'm gonna be like having to spend this at some point anyway, so that we can pitch our game properly, I was like, why don't we just buy the 3D printer, and then we can make videos about it. We can talk about, like, you know, what it's like to use them for tabletop and stuff. So that's another thing. Like, we've been 3D printing recently, which has been really fun.
We're obsessed with 3D printing now. We
it's
like
very
last
cool.
night we were just like on the sofa looking like, what could we print? Like, what else could we do? Like, we could just do it for fun now. It's not just playtesting anymore.
Yeah, 'cause we've got like 6 or 7 models of like the heroes that we've already made, and the ones that we are using to play around with. And then I was like, well, you know, we've done those now, so like, now what do we print?
Anything.
Oh my God. And it was quite fun as well, because obviously you go on and you've got like you know, like models that people usually for like D&D, and or like, you know, if people are like playing like knockoff versions of Warhammer and all this kind of stuff, there's loads of like fun models that people have made of like character sculpts, which has been really cool, because we can look to something and there was like a Kenku alchemist kind of character. I was like, oh, it'd be really fun to have like a sort of like alchemist character in our game, and then we can like design around that instead, which is really fun. But yeah, that's been the things that I've been grooving on recently.
That's great. So there's a lot of things you could do on a Sunday afternoon, like play Dead Rising 2, but the two of you decided to spend it with me, and I want you to know how much I appreciate that.
Oh, we've had a lovely time. Thank you so
nice.
much.
Thank you so much for having us.
And for those of you listening, guess what? It's the end. You made it. You listened to the whole damn episode, and I appreciate you. Take care. We're going to find out what they're grooving on. We'll be right back. I love the arc of interviews like this. I love, we start with where you started, and then just through this whole process, we learn kind of what is Maddie's thing? What is Wheels' thing? And we did it at the end where it all came together. We realized how much you guys cover each other and why this partnership works. And what I love about it, and I really appreciate you guys doing this with me, is I love that we didn't have to be explicit about it all. It just kind of emerges through the whole thing. So this has been a phenomenal interview, guys. I very much appreciate it.
Great. It's been so lovely meeting you. This is really incredible.
Good.
You're a very, very good host.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So good.
All right. We'll keep this one short. I'll bring us back. You guys should look into broadcasting. You guys are very good at this.
We did have a podcast.
I'm teasing.
Yeah, we had to pause it because it was just so much work. Honestly,
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, because the main problem for us was Maddie had to read a book for every podcast we did, and the books were not good.
Yeah,
and at the time when we both basically come out of very long-term relationships where we weren't super happy, and at the time that was great because Maddie could escape into a book, and
I read a lot.
Yeah. But now we're both thriving and we're just
I'm too happy now, and I'm I had to make a post guys, I'm sorry, I'm too happy now, I'm not reading as much anymore. Not to say that reading is for unhappy people, but
the next episode of Depression is not going to come out for a while.
Sorry, I'll circle back around, I'm sure, at some point. I'm thriving.
But you guys are totally getting the vibe of the show, which I very much appreciate. So I appreciate
I
you
love it,
following
yeah.
me
Thanks so much for having us.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back we're going to talk about a little game called Freaks. We'll be right back. What a great segment, you two. That was awesome.
Sweat on my hand from holding this mic for
Yeah, we should have got some clips ready, but here we are.
Timing wise, do we have another 30 minutes? We good?
We got as much
we're
time as you want, man.
literally
We're
nothing
to
not
do.
lazy Sunday,
chilling.
yeah.
Okay. Hey, are you still here? Look, the podcast is over. And you sat through all of the breaks and bloopers? Well, if you're here, you might as well run over to patreon.com and become a supporter. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast too while you're at it, on whatever platform you're listening to. I do appreciate you sticking around. Take care.